Would you be able to stand by someone, Nadia, if you found out that it was a loved one? For example, your husband. Could you stand by him?
No, I just couldn't, because it would mean that everything that I thought I knew about him wasn't so. He would become to me a completely different person. Now, having said that, I mean, clearly we wouldn't stay together, all of that, but I don't know if I would... It's because it's so easy to stand, isn't it, in judgment. I don't... And when I first heard this story, how can that woman do that? I don't know. I don't know if I would be... If I would then... Because I see it as some sort of a mental illness. You have got something wrong with you. That's my perception of it.
Yeah.
So whether I would then completely cut him out of my life forever and, you know, I don't know. I don't know. But I certainly know I wouldn't be able to stay married to him or stay in the same house.
The person that we're talking about, it's Andrew Thirlwell. He appeared at Teesside Crown Court, and the judge basically praised his family for standing by him, and the judge himself said there are others who would simply wipe their hands of a man in these circumstances. Now he hadn't done anything. But he
downloaded those images, and that's a crime in itself.
Some would say that he hadn't crossed that line. To you, having the images himself, would that be crossing the line?
I love my husband more than anything else in the world, but if I found that he'd done something like that, I wouldn't be able to stay with him. I've got 2 granddaughters. Our house is always full of children. Although he hadn't acted on those urges, it's still illegal what he did by downloading those photographs.
And the thing is, those children in those images have had something done to them. That's what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So, you know, all the children in those pictures have been abused.
You also have a son. Would you feel differently if it turned out that the loved one in your life was your son who had been downloading these images? Do we view our partners differently to how we view our children?
I would stand by my son and get him help. I mean, I don't know what you do to get those... If you've got those urges and those feelings about children, how do you get those urges out of people's heads? By sending them to prison, that doesn't work.
It obviously doesn't work, sending them to prison, because the number of child abuse cases and reports of child abuse that have been referred to the police has risen 80% in the last 3 years. And in the news today, Britain's leading police officer who deals with child protection has said we need to have a rethink about what we define, how we define paedophiles, and if they're just not causing any harm to children and they're designated a low-grade risk, is sending them to prison the right answer? I think that's really controversial. If someone has not downloaded the images and has not broken the law, you could argue, if they acknowledge they're attracted to children, maybe they need some help. Sending them to prison might just introduce them to other paedophiles. If they go online, they might be on a network, they might be on a chat room talking to other paedophiles. What I find really interesting is that every day in the press we talk, and people generally feel quite comfortable talking about addiction. We talk about drink addiction, addiction to alcohol, addiction to dangerous drugs or soft drugs or whatever. We even talk about people's sexual addiction and shopping addiction, but we don't talk in the same way about people who are addicted to looking at images of children. Somehow we need to somehow get a cooler conversation about it, because it's obvious from the statistics that it's not going away, and in fact it might be on the increase.
All this like hang, draw and quarter them, you know, throw away the key, we can't do any of that.
We can't continue to do it, can we, Nadia, because the prisons are full?
Yeah, we're not doing anything. The prisons are overwhelmed, police officers are overwhelmed. Do you remember that documentary a couple of years ago, The Paedophile Next Door, that was on Channel 4? It's on Netflix now, and I was watching it the other night, and I just wanted to tell you, see what you thought about this. Eddie, one of the paedophiles that was talking, says, a paedophile who doesn't want to abuse children says there's no support network for anyone who says they're attracted to children. Okay, so we have to accept some people have sexual inclinations which are not good, but if we deal with it in the right way, they don't have to be bad. it stops paedophiles hiding in the shadows. And this is really uncomfortable conversation, is it? Because actually, when we hear the word paedophile, we want to go la 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 la, because it's so abhorrent.
But I agree with you. If somebody, you know, we're saying paedophiles can be female as well.
Yeah. They're asking for help. What can we do?
Yeah, if somebody has an urge which they know in themselves is an unnatural one, an unsavoury one, or one that is potentially an illegal one, I agree with you, rather than it being demonised before they've even looked at a picture, done anything, they know they can go to whether it's a doctor or whatever and not be demonised and deal with it, then surely that's helping further down the line, because the statistics that you spoke of, Janet, they come because, but also because our prisons are becoming full, and we're having to find different ways of dealing with this problem rather than just locking people.
Well, last year the NSPCC, that's the leading children's charity in this country, said there was an epidemic of sharing indecent images of children. And now if the NSPCC says there are 500,000 people in Britain sharing indecent images of children, where are we going to go with this? Because we can't lock them all up, we can't give them all prison
and we can't shut down all conversation about it. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 8 boys will be abused by the age of 16.
And of course, a lot of the people abusing children have been abused themselves. So somehow we've got to end that cycle.